it is rare, I think, at least in my case. I'm Jan Siesling. I'm from the Netherlands, but I live in America. It is rather rare to be fascinated by the work of an artist that you don't know. At least in our time, we meet so many artists, the work of so many artists, of so many good artists, but it is rare that we are fascinated by it, or at least that we remember it easily. And that happened with Yang Jian's bowls that I saw for the first time in reproductions some almost 10 years ago. Now, it is not rare at all to see a painter repeatedly paint the same object. In fact, when I was young, many painters started to work what they call multiple or repetition. You think of Andy Warhol, for instance, who used one image of Marilyn Monroe time and again. Or you think of Claude Viala, very famous in France, who took the shape of a simple bean and then he repeated it all over an infinite number of times. And of course the effect of that kind of repetition is that the meaning of the image disappears and it becomes a pure form. And the interesting thing with Yang Jian's art is that it doesn't diminish in meaning, but the repetition seems to enhance its meaning. Now that is maybe conform to the time period. I think in the 90s, in the beginning of this century, artists stopped working like the pop artists that I mentioned before. I think of an artist here in the region where I live, in New Orleans. He paints blue dogs all the time while he painted. He's deceased now. And it's a beautiful blue dog, but the fact that it is repeated all the time can't help making it losing meaning. And again, I have the feeling that with the bowls of Yang Jian, the meaning deepened. And I think I'm not the only one. And that is, I think, that people related these bowls and also the sandals that he made many compositions of, that they related this to Buddhism. And that's comprehensible, right? Because Buddhist monks, they are begging, and they use for this begging, they use a little alms bowl, and people can put some money in it, or even rice, cooked rice. So the beggar is happy, and of course teaches the generous giver that having no money is in fact better than having money. That's a Buddhist principle. And of course we think of this religious relation. But at the same time, then it stops for me. In fact, it is not anymore artwork if you speak about it only in Buddhist terms. It's not anymore an artwork, it is an illustration. And illustrations are, however beautiful they are not art. They are a craft. They are a skill. And of course, art needs a lot of craft and skill. And Yang Jian always speaks about it, how important skill, craft, his handwork is. But there's something else in art. Sometimes I call that the spiritual part of art. And spiritual does not mean religious. It means that art itself has spirit. So then think of the form of the bowl. It is a half sphere, half of a sphere. The sphere is the most fascinating form that exists in the world. It's a three-dimensional circle. And that for humans is an ideal form. If you are spiritual or a mathematician, the circle is the one that has everything almost unspeakable. It is totally symmetric, and it's the only form. Now imagine you think of the bowls, how they come out of the dark in Yang Jian. And it's as if they come out of the night. Think of the night sky. The night sky above you. We don't look at that very often anymore, but sometimes you do when you go into the countryside, or maybe when you are at the border of the ocean and you look at the sky. And the sky, from one end to the other, is such a half sphere. The dome of heaven, we sometimes say. And then think of this little bowl that has the form of the other half sphere, which is under the heaven, which is the earth. So in fact the bowl is a form, a model of the earth itself. Now, of course we can go a little further, but let me go in the direction of spiritual expression. For instance, this bowl, when it is upside down, was the form of the graves of the dead. A little hill would cover them. And people knew there was the ancestor. That was the little heaven above the body, the corpse of the ancestor. And if you multiply that, then you get what the Buddhist religion called the stupa. And the stupa is this universal and spiritual form of the dome on top of the temple. The temple, the smallest ones and the greatest ones all over the Buddhist world. And this form means the heaven above the relics of saints. It was also taken over in the West under the influence of Roman architecture. And in the same way also by Muslims. Think of Istanbul, all the cupolas over the city, one mosque after another. Inside, of course, the structure of the dome is the most amazing, beautiful thing, because it does not come down on you. But if you go further in your understanding of the bowl, then I discovered that something very interesting happened in the history of mankind. According to certain theory, the bowl was the object that was the first named by human beings. It was, so to say, the foundation of the language, of human language, not in one place or another, no, of all humans. And of course, the bowl is only one word for this original word that apparently sounded more or less like cow, that we spell now in German, because it was a German researcher who found this out. K-A-L-L, cow. And this sound is still universally recognizable in names that are derived from this idea of the bowl. Not only the bowl in like the earth, but also the bowl like the heaven, which is also the form of the skull. And of course, humans very early thought that it was a very important relation of forms, the human skull. They often made monuments with skulls of the dead. And then there is another relation that I indicate in my essay on Yang Jian's art. That is that the bowl, I would say, of the origin, this spheric form that contained the most mysterious phenomena for humans, that was life, new life. So that bowl was in fact a woman. It was the womb of the woman. There something all of a sudden happened. That means a new child, new life was growing. So woman was in fact the bowl of the origin. Do you understand how interesting it seems to me that not only we are attracted, more or less unconsciously, by a painter who paints bowls continuously, mysterious bowls coming from the dark. This artist is not just working with metal, wooden objects that can keep a few pennies or maybe some rice. No, he's working with the very origin of life, which is the mother. And the greatest mother is Mother Earth. And all of a sudden we are back under the heaven. And the great bowl is the earth itself. Mother Earth, the holiest of the holiest. So, you see, an artist often consciously works with his hands, but unconsciously he works with his spirit. And it is this spirit that finally attracts us to each other, the artist to his public. Thank you for listening to me.